Hello, hope you're doing well today. It's been a while since I've put out a video. Been traveling a lot and just a busy life, and so thought, man, I need to give a shout out, especially to my amazing Michigan Church of God team, but also to a lot of other friends and especially preacher friends today. Got a little thought I want to run by you. Now, you don't have to agree with me on this. And I'd be curious to get some feedback. You can put it in the YouTube comment or next time we talk, or send me a text or give me a call. But I want to run something by you. So I thought about this on Easter as I was with my son in Leavenworth. They'll be moving to Colorado. He'll be stationed out there for just like a few years, and so wanted to see him and the family before they moved even further away here in a few weeks. And so I was out there sitting in church with him where they worship and listening to yet another Easter message, which reminded me of the Sunday before. The Sunday before was Palm Sunday, and I was preaching here in Michigan, and I thought, this is Palm Sunday. I've preached a lot of Palm Sunday messages over the years. I always made a big deal out of it and enjoyed Palm Sunday. And so I went back and researched some of my Palm Sunday messages and found one that kind of resonated, and I used it and created a sermon on a Saturday afternoon and worked on it some more early Sunday morning for a few hours. And of course, you'll have to, as I say, you'll have to ask the victims. But it seems to me that it was well received, and it was a good word, and it was an apt word for that moment. And it just reminded me of something that I've thought about from time to time over the years. And one of the things I believe I would do different now if I was pastoring. I still remember, back in the day, I preached for many years. I preached twice on Sunday morning. That's the same sermon though, but then I preached again on Sunday night. I preached on Wednesday night or taught on Wednesday night. I usually did a staff meeting. I did a devotional or a leadership lesson, and usually it was no surprise if I had one or two other speaking kind of events during a week at a meeting or just different things. And so I was constantly trying to pour out and do and create. And I came up in the generation, and maybe you did too, where you didn't preach a sermon twice. You gave fresh bread, and you brought a new word every Sunday. And I did that for years. I probably on even my whole ministry as a pastor, I doubt I preached 10 messages more than once. And I'd say 20 years at Fort Mill, my last church, I doubt I preached 5 messages. In all those years, I preached a new sermon every time. And there's nothing wrong with that. It worked okay. But if I had it to do over, not to be lazy, but I would have preached my sermons over. I'd go back and because you preach a sermon, and 5 years later you preach that sermon again or a version of that sermon. You're a different man or a different woman. You've got a different approach. You've learned more about that subject, whether you were intentional about it or not. In 5 years' time, you're going to be preaching to a different congregation, even if you're a long-term pastor staying at the same church. I can promise you, the few times I've done that since I have been in administrative type work, the few times I've done that and preached a sermon over, gone back and for a special occasion and pulled something out that I've done before, it's been entirely different. And then I've learned that in this time, again, not to be lazy, but when I go to a church, the Lord will give me a word for a season, and I'll preach that same sermon, maybe not every Sunday, but for several weeks, I'll preach the same sermon for a while. And every time I preach it, it's different. I tweak it. I learn more. I take something out, I put something in, it gets better, and it evolves, it grows. And so, pastors, with all, not to be lazy, that's not the point, but with all of the stress that's on you, don't hesitate to go back to the old wells and redig those wells and see if God, that water can burst forth again and be living fresh water. You're different, your people's different, the time's different, the word's going to be the same, but there'll be a fresh application. And you don't remember what you preached this time last year, I doubt very seriously, and your people won't, unless it's really resonated with them. And even if they do, and nothing wrong with telling them, you're taking another look at a word that God gave you for that time. And just like the Bible is forever, well, God's word speaking through us can also be for every season and every time. I'll close with this. A book I read a number of years ago, but excellent book by a man by the name of Brian Dodd, Brian J. Dodd. It's entitled Empowered Church Leadership. It was a good book, and I've got a lot of his quotes in my quote file, and I ran across one today. It said, life-giving leaders are all too aware they have a lot of good ideas not worth doing. Did you catch that? They're good ideas, but they're not worth doing. They seek God instead. They seek God's direction with deep conviction that God's ways are higher than ours and that God's thoughts are more elevated than our plans and schemes. And I still do it today. When I read the Bible, man, that would make a good sermon. That'd be a good idea. And I could, I can't get a sermon done, get a sermon completed for working over here on 4 or 5 other good sermon ideas. And so they're all kind of shallow, a mile wide, an inch thick. All good ideas, all sermon thoughts aren't worth maybe preaching. All good ideas aren't, they're good ideas for you, maybe for the moment, and a little picker-upper from God, but that doesn't mean you have to preach them. What if we looked at our life and, I remember years ago, more so seems like than I hear now, but there were certain preachers that we had a brother George Brett. I don't know if he ever got up into this part of the country, but he was very well known in my circles as a boy, and the preachers would bring him in every year, and he would do a series on prophecy. Every time you heard him, he was about prophecy. And so you'd have preachers like that would have a theme. What if God gave you 1 or 2 great ideas? And kind of like Bach's, Sebastian Bach, Johann, everybody you say his name, Sebastian Bach, he wrote the variation on a theme and wrote a lot of different songs, but kind of had a similar melody line. What if God gave you and me a few good thoughts, and we spent our life learning them and preaching on them? And of course, we'd get new material and preach new sermons, but we would keep coming back to that good idea, that eternal idea, that infinite idea, that God idea that God put in us and created us to preach. And so all that to say, take another look at some of your golden oldies, and maybe they're gold for today. Gold does not tarnish, it does not fade. And those golden ideas, those golden sermons that God gave you in the past, dig them up, rework them, reframe them, get a different text, a different context, a different story, but that sermon idea, that the kernel, the life-giving kernel of that sermon, preach it again. And so that's just a thought, maybe to help you in a busy life, constantly living under the guilt of not coming up with a new sermon every Sunday. Maybe you don't need to deal with that guilt. All right, God love you. There you go. That's my idea for today. Hope you're doing well. Love and appreciate you. And we'll see you around the bend. Keep running to win for the gospel's sake.